Tony, in the cold light of day, you ran the Premier League champions really close, didn't you? 81 minutes clean sheet, fortunate goal in the end that won it. Big chances for Rondon and Chadley as well. Have you looked back at it?
No, we worked hard. It was. I thought it was a good game, good night. I think the only thing that spoiled the night was the incident right at the end, and you know that it looked as though it was some of our supporters who sold their tickets. I think the club are looking into it, and we'll deal with it. You know, we can't have that going on. The club recognise it, and the supporters won't be allowed to come back in the ground. But we mustn't take that away from. It was a great night. The supporters were fantastic. Everybody seemed to really enjoy the game, and you know the performance that the players had put in. The unfortunate thing, Rob, obviously, was that we didn't get the result we wanted. So, yeah, all in all, against the champions, you know, we put in a good performance, which is what we wanted to do.
Has that been the story of your team of late? Really good performances and not quite getting there.
Yeah, I think there's an obvious fact that we've not scored and taken the chances that we've made. You know, the goals against haven't been too bad, and you know we just haven't scored. But we've created the chances, and like you say, Solomon and Chadders have had good opportunities. We've had good opportunities in the final third to play people in, or we've made the wrong decision. So it's just been that little bit in the final third, which was very good in the middle part of the season, and we just lost it at the end. And there's such fine lines between what you can achieve if you take that away.
John Williams wrote in the programme message to the fans. He says being 8th is incredible. He says, as far as I'm concerned, that's top of our own league. That's nice to hear, isn't it? I guess it's something you agree with. It's about is that about as high as you can get? Is that the glass ceiling almost?
Well, I think when you look at the structure of the Premiership now and what will happen next year, I think it's getting more difficult for those 7 clubs, or 6. If you put Everton into it, the 7 clubs, they're all fighting for that Champions League spot. And I can see those 6 or 7 getting further and further away, Rob. They have the resources to spend big again, and they'll be chasing that prize. And Champions League is the biggest prize now for people in the Premier League. So I can just see that gap getting bigger and bigger.
How do you compete with it?
Well, I don't think you can. I think you've got to put a model in place that people understand and recognise. That every game we play, especially at home, if we're well set up, we can give anybody a game, and you'll get opportunities and chances to beat those top 6 or 7 clubs. But over a season, with the money they spend and the resources that they've got, you would expect them to finish in that top 6, 7 place. I think Leicester last season was a big shock to everybody, and the clubs have certainly reacted by spending a lot of money, and I can only see them spending a lot more money next year because of the competition between that group of clubs to finish in that top 4.
John Williams also said that the budget that you get for transfers will depend on where you finish in the division. Puts a bit of pressure, doesn't it, for the last few games when it's as tight as it is?
Well, we've got, like I said, you know, I'm going over Mondays to meet Mr. Lai and the rest of the Chinese people who run this football club. So, you know, they've invited us over, Rob. So it's a good opportunity, a good chance to sit down away from everything and actually look at the season and analyse the season and talk to them about, you know, the way they see the club pushing on and going forward.
You're over to China?
Yeah. I'm going to fly up Monday.
He seemed to suggest, John, that maybe 4 or 5 big players could come in. He said that's what we've done so far, and if we can do that again.
Yeah. Well, like I say, we will sit down together. John obviously will be on the plane with Richard and Martin as well. So we'll sit down, you know, and have that meeting, and then, you know, take it from there. We'll know where we are then, Ron.
Well, I was looking at the stats though, and you've used 18 players in the Premier League this season in 36 games, and 3 of that includes Sam Field, Mark Wilson, and Jonathan Lecco, who've played a handful of games between them. So 15 regulars you've relied on to get to 8th in the Premier League. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, it's a tap on the back for the medical side. It's a tap on the back for the football club in the way that we prepare the players, look after the players, and if you add to that we've got the oldest squad as well in the Premiership, then you know, the club have done well in that respect. But Rob, it's been a good season overall. If you have a look at what the output has been and what we've managed to squeeze out of that, it's been a good season. And that's what we want to talk, you know, to the Chinese about and really discuss the way forward. And that's very, very important to us.
How many players? I mean, look, it's a Premier League squad of 25, I think, isn't it? And you've used 15 regulars. How many more would you like to have as first team regulars that you could call on?
I'm not great into numbers. I'm more concerned about the quality of players that you bring in. You know, I think if you bring the quality of players in, and then you look after them physically, you know, the physical side of it now, the mental side of it, it all adds up. But if you've got and you prepare the players well enough, I think they should, unless you're very, very unlucky, they should get through a season if you manage them well enough. And that's what we've done, and that's what I've done at all the other clubs. I think that we work really hard in pre-season, and then we work very, very hard during the season to make sure we keep injuries down, especially muscular injuries. I don't think you can affect if someone breaks their leg or if someone has a knee injury or whatever. That happens, and you have to accept that. But muscular injuries are avoidable. And that's always been my argument to the medical staff at all the clubs I've been at, is make sure that we do avoid those injuries. And that coincides with the way you set your training out, the way you set your recovery out, you know, the way you set everything out during the week before the game. Because at the end of it, the most important thing is the game. And, you know, I've always, like I said, I've always been pretty conscious of the fact that preparation is everything if you do it right.
But you've only used 15 players. Part of what you're talking about is recovery, and that presumably means squad rotation and resting a player if you think they're prone to getting a muscle injury, and you haven't really had that luxury, have you?
Because I don't think they've been prone to. There's only been Matty, really. Matty Phillips has been the only one who we've been a little bit disappointed. I've been a little bit disappointed with in respect of his muscular injuries. The rest of the lads have been good, and that, like I say, that says a lot to, you know, the medical people down there, and Matt, who does the you know, the sports science stuff for us. You know, it's good. We've got something in place that I think works, and you know, I've had it for a long time at the other clubs, and I've brought it to West Brom. They've bought into it and added to it, so you know, it's been a good marriage in that respect, Rob.
You mentioned team news, Matty Phillips and Hal Robson-Kanu. You mentioned Matty there. How are they?
No, Matty won't be fit. Hal, we'll have to wait and see last minute. That'll be a last minute one. You know, 2 games to go. Big game again. It was a big game, and we actually, again, you know, outrun Chelsea on Friday night by a great distance in lots of ways. 2 to go. You know, tough game against Man City. We're playing, you know, the third best team at the moment in the league, having come off playing the best team in the league. So they're going to be, you know, the second game will be a difficult game. So we know physically it's going to be tough, and they are a very, very good side.
Would you take something out of the performance against Chelsea going into this one? Are the players thinking that, do you know what, we've matched ourselves almost against the very best? This isn't quite the best, these are third.
Yeah, I you know, I'm hoping, obviously Gareth won't be fit. I don't think Macaulay will be fit because of that injury. So, yeah, I'm hoping we'll go there and we'll put a performance in. We'll do what we've done all season, and that is, you know, work as hard as we possibly can and put a performance in, and hope 1 or 2 things drop for us.
So much talk in the summer, just gone, last summer, was about the new managers, the new foreign managers coming into the Premier League. Has Pep Guardiola been outshone by Antonio Conte, do you think?
No, I think every club is different. Every club is run differently, and every club that you pick up is in a different state. And you can't, and I can't comment on, you know, how tough it's been for Antonio or how tough it's been for Pep. You know, they have their different problems, and you know, Antonio might have had a situation where he could develop what he's got to what he wanted, whereas Pep might have had a situation where he couldn't develop that group for what he wanted. He needs to you know, bring other people in to get exactly what he wants. So it's very difficult, Rob, to say just because of results after 1 season. They need more. You know, the 2 lads we're talking about, I find them smashing people, really good football people, down to earth, genuine, and you know, they've done fantastically well in their careers. And I'm sure that Pep will be very, very determined, you know, to to be closer than what he's been this year with all the tournaments and with all the competitions.
The question is, I suppose, but for Pep and Manchester City, is no trophy in a season and top 4, is that good enough? That club tends to expect more than that.
Yeah, I know, but the club can expect what it wants, but it takes time for a manager to settle in and get what he wants. You can't just do it in a season. You can't do it in 2 windows. And I think it's the same with, if you have a look at Mourinho's situation, Jose will improve that team again next year, so they'll be a stronger team and I think a real powerhouse again next year. Everybody, Rob, with Liverpool almost guaranteed now Champions League, they will spend again as well. So that group, they're just revving up to take off again.
I agree with you. But of course, if Man City win this game, they're almost certainly guaranteed Champions League football, all bar some amazing goal swing in the last game. So they're going to be really up for it, aren't they?
Chelsea were really up for it. We've sometimes you can catch teams at the right time, and sometimes you can't. But what we've got to do is concentrate on what we do. That's the most important thing. We know it's going to be tough, Rob. We know what they've got. We know they're fantastic players. That Silva, De Bruyne. It's just full of quality. The team is full of quality. Like I say, I'm sure Pep will add to it and add players that will suit the way he wants to play more than anything else. I don't think there's a criticism about the players he's got, but I think he'll want certain players to do certain things, and I'm sure he'll get there.